presentation because I get to talk to people like yourself who have these fabulous ideas, seem to be getting better and better year by year. And I just get so encouraged in terms of the interaction and the dynamic motivation, if you wish, that's going on in the industry. It's just great. So let's go ahead and get started. AceTech, Angie, AceTech is a sponsor here?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about AceTech because you're going to see the banner here quite a bit. AceTech is an organization in Vancouver primarily that's founded, the banner that they use is by CEOs for CEOs. So it's an organization for CEOs from startups to very mature companies, been in business now, gosh, 35 years maybe, somewhere in that area, long period of time. I got involved with it just because they run a great seminar or conference actually at Whistler, which is actually next week, April 13th, Friday, by the way. And it's a really well done event in terms of education, networking, and just general confidence building. So I got on the board, and then after you'll see I retired in 2004, at least from operating the business, and I got involved because I started doing some investing. And the first investment I put in was to a young fellow, and I put, I think, $100,000 in, and it just went poof for no value. I'm going, well, that must be a bit of an anomaly in terms of just bad choice on my part. So I did it again. And about the same result happened with the second time around. And it takes me a little while to get the hang of what's going on, not anywhere near what it should have been in terms of results. So I founded a program called the Growth Strategy Program within AceTech in about 2008 actually, and started working with the lady at AceTech, whose name is Kathy True, and we ran that for 5 years, and then I departed and went on to other things, and been taken over just going like gangbusters. So if you want kind of an education program as well, I would encourage you to take a look. Growth Strategy Program, just go to the AceTech website, I think it's acetech.org, and go to the Growth Strategy Program on it. So, without further ado, let's keep on going. Actually, it's this one right here. There are 3 topics tonight. We're probably going to get through 2 of them, the first 2. And those are your go-to-market strategy. So, my goal tonight is to have you folks leave this room with a piece of white paper filled out, which accurately describes, in customer business terms, defines what you do, describes what you do. We'll get into more detail on that in the next slide, but my purpose in life here is to get you to talk business for your innovation. It's number 1 tonight. Number 2 is your market opportunity. The way we want to look at it is the market opportunities that you could get involved with are typically going to last 5 to 10 years, maybe more. I have a portfolio of 24 investments, direct investments, and the average hold in those portfolios is about 11 to 12 years, a long period of time. So the notion under number 2 here is this a worthwhile opportunity for you in terms of putting 10 years of your life into what you're contemplating right now? So you want to be a little discerning about that, and I've got some things that I can talk to you about tonight in terms of how to at least quantify whether it's going to be worthwhile or not. So a bunch of just stuff in the beginning as well. If you got any questions, say out. This is going to be a workshop, meaning I'm going to talk and you're going to work. And we're going to break it up that way. So Angie, I guess Andrew Paskins is going to have to bring a pile of pizza back there, and maybe they'll put a second order in. But I'm going to talk for about half an hour, and then you're going to work for about 15 minutes. I'm going to talk for another half hour, you're going to work some more. And we're going to go back and forth like this. But we're going to build this statement right here as the evening goes on. So the purpose, again, is for you to walk out the door with a statement filled out, at least version 1, so that you can take back and actually evolve it. Any questions? So let me go down the list. Breaks are frequent. So there's not going to be a break at half time or anything like that. As you're working, feel free to go to the washroom, which are right over here. Drinks are in the back of the room, hopefully more pizza. So there's not going to be a formal break at all. Number 2, I'm going to ask for volunteers. So as we start building this definition, if you wish, right here, I'm going to ask for some people to come up the front of the room. Rachel has a microphone, there's probably that one right there, and we can all hear what you have to say as you start going through the bill process. So I would encourage anybody that wants to speak to, in fact, be prepared to volunteer, probably 2, maybe 3 at the most, something like that, because it does take a little while. Okay, so we're not heard. And the last one is these slides are open source. I send them to Angie. Angie, I told Angie, you're free to send them to whomever wants the slides. So I would like you to listen tonight rather than try and take a whole bunch of notes, because in fact, you can just refer back to the slides. Okay? Any questions? All right. So next slide is me. So I'm going to let you read this for maybe a minute, 30 seconds. And then I'll come back and describe some highlights in terms of, I think why I can help you out a lot. So let's just go through it kind of era by era, if you wish. First one is I was 28 years as CEO and founder. So I founded 8 companies and sold 5 of them over that period of time. And probably the defining characteristic that I seem to be known for is the fact that I had no outside investment at all. No other investor in the company except for myself and my wife. So we had no venture capital, obviously, no line of credit, nothing like that. So it can be done. Okay, number one. I did a whole bunch of startups and sold them. I got really good at workflow software. So there's a business model for doing workflow software, and I got really good at it, and I hate repeat. And repeatability is one of the most important things you need to do and achieve inside your business opportunity. In 2004, I quote unquote retired, not according to my wife, but nevertheless, I started doing a bunch of investing right about then, this line right here. And again, I made 24 investments. That 24 is now down to 11. So 13 have either been sold in one way, shape, or form, a really nice sale, or we're just going to get rid of it because it's not going anywhere. Or the other alternative is it went to 0. And I have had some of those as well. There was a big crash that I was involved with, one of them called Endurance Wind Power. Has anybody heard of that in this room? It's in Surrey. Okay, you heard of it? Okay, do you know anything about it, or just kind of fleeting?
Fleeting, only because of other solar projects.
So it's a company with approximately $70 million in sales, and things got offside, and it went down. And it went down, in my opinion, because of the financing error that they made, and also the fact that they didn't execute on the product strategy. So we're going to talk about that as an example tonight as well. Okay. So I started investing. I'm into 11 now, and I'm also into 8 venture capital funds. None of those funds have actually gone to completion at all yet. So they unfortunately take a long period of time. The longest fund I think I've been at now is about 13 or 14 years. They keep on incrementing it by a year. It's a very tough industry and strategy to make money in, quite frankly. Tough. So I got involved in a whole bunch of associations to help out, spent a bunch of time on the Premier's Technology Council, about 12 years, and I worked with Gordon Campbell and Christy Clark to advise the premiers on things to do in the technology industry, where to make investments and so on. One of the probably the most important things that came out of this one was the 30% tax credit. Is everybody familiar with the 30% tax credit here? Okay, a big, yeah. Who's not familiar with the 30% tax credit? Okay. If you have a high-tech business and it's approved, if you wish, by the government, the finance department of the government, and I come along, what's your first name? Samuel. Samuel? Samuel? Samuel, okay. So Samuel, I go to Samuel, and I go, Samuel, she's doing a pitch for me, and Ralph, I'd like you to invest $100,000, as an example. I get from the government a tax credit, as in either it's cash back or a straight deduction off my tax return for 30% of the $100,000. I can do that up to $200,000 in total per year, and then I also have my wife up there as well for another $200,000 as well. Okay, it's a seriously good program if you don't know about it, and highly attractive to investors. Alberta has recently implemented one, and I'm not sure about the other provinces, for instance, Ontario. Okay, so I did that, and then I sit on boards, and I sat in 2016, actually 14 to 16, I was chairman of 6 boards, and my wife went something like, you really need to reduce that, or else maybe we won't be living in the same house, or some thread like that. Anyway, I ended up now down at 2, and I also do a fair bit of mentoring still, but I'm into the philanthropic side of my career, if you wish, at this point in time. Okay, so that's me. Any comments or questions? So why Angie likes me here is I'm the CEO and founder of a whole bunch of startups. I also do investing, come at it from that angle, and I also look at it from a board point of view. And I guess the fourth one would be I've got a lot of industry perspective going on, courtesy experiences right here. Okay. All right, so this is a slide that is my big intro slide that I would like you to take a good minute and read hard and thoroughly, especially this paragraph right here. Okay, so let's just review it, and then we're going to have a little interaction. Again, there's two parts to a business. First off, is the purpose is to create a customer. No customer, no business. So my goal with you is to create take your innovation, put it into a communication context, so we'll call it marketing if you wish right here, and allow you to communicate clearly to potential customers what you do, and therefore why they should actually become a customer of yours. That's purpose number 1 tonight for me. So I get back to this again. Why would a customer want your innovation? I'm trying to get you a document that in their language they understand clearly, and then you need to communicate your distinguishing unique feature. And we're going to get to details of that. So let's have a little interaction. Why are customers important to you? What do customers do for you?
Sales.
Sales. Tell me more about
Generate revenue.
Sorry?
They would purchase your product and generate revenue.
Okay, revenue. All right, so can I help you out a little bit? So we're going to talk financial, all right? And we're going to first comment this lady made with revenue. So there's a cute little phrase that goes something like revenue is an opinion, cash is fact. Because you can write payroll checks with cash. So if you don't mind, I'm going to add cash to that line as well. Would you be okay?
I actually started with sales, but sales equal cash and revenue.
Yes, exactly. So I'm going to just put this way, going cash in, which is really important. Okay, very good one. Next, anything else? Yes, sir, gentleman, Richard.
They help drive innovation.
And what?
Your product and creating new features or adding anything to it.
Okay, so this is called a product roadmap. So they're going to tell you what you should do with your product to meet their needs. Okay, and this is really important, especially to startups, because you've got so many features that you would like to put in that product, but you don't know which ones are the important ones, right? So what's the best way to get that feedback is to go to a customer and say, I got these 100 features, which ones do you want? And what sequence do you want them in as well? What's the priority? So it's really vital that you get this, because spending scarce dollars in the beginning, by definition, you're in negative cash flow, and you need to make sure you spend every single one of your development dollars really, really effectively. Okay, what else? Anything else? This gentleman right here.
Validating your pricing assumptions.
Sorry?
They can validate a lot of your assumptions, pricing being a good one.
Yeah, okay, so validation, good one. So can I go to the 2 parts of what you sell? You basically sell a value, and we'll call it your value prop if you wish. And then obviously you want to get paid, which is the pricing for that as well. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay, there is another one in the back. No? Yes, sir.
they can help you to create a culture for your product.
Uh-huh.
That means because you want to be innovative, so you need to find a way to introduce your product to the industry, to your domain. Therefore, the customers, if they see that this innovation is helpful for their daily job, they can create a culture around that, and the other competitors of them can see benefits of that and come to you.
Okay, so corporate culture, is that good?
Yep.
Okay. You'll learn quickly that my writing is some of the worst in the world,
Better
so
than mine.
hopefully you can read it. Sorry?
Better than mine.
Is it really?
I guarantee it.
Okay, yes, sir.
So I think the customer can bring more customer, actually do the sales, run the sales and the marketing for you.
Tell me more.
Well, because that's the concept of being something goes viral. If someone sees that your products bring value, they want to actually share it in the real term of put it, literally share it with other people. And that's, I think sales and marketing is one of the biggest costs these days. And a happy customer can do that for you for free.
Yep.
So that's.
Okay, so I'm gonna,
more people do your sales for you.
yeah. So people in the back here, what this gentleman said? Okay, so is there another, I'm looking for one word, actually.
Referrals.
Sorry? There you go, perfect, okay. So what we want is a reference. Why are references important? Especially getting the first one. Look for one reference. Why is the reference important? Okay, in the world of sales, being second is a whole lot more attractive than being first. So you walk into your boss, you go, dear boss, I'd like to buy that over there. The boss says, who else is using it? That's the first question out of their mouth. And at least you've got one person out there that's actually, or one entity out there that's actually using your product. So references are vital in the beginning. References basically imply that you've got a customer that actually is using your product and they're happy. Okay, they validate the value proposition on the pricing up here, if in fact it's been competitive. And it's mandatory that you get references in order to leverage your way into the future. So there's two types of references. This gentleman was talking about B2C, business to consumer business, and B2B, you need references as well. This gentleman here talked about this being viral, which is a good way to describe B2C situation, right? Okay, one user begets another user is what you want to do. And that's really important, but references are very important. So let me ask you another question then. Let's say you want to get your first customer. So which is more important, getting cash in the door for that customer or getting the customer closed, using your product and happy? So it's a choice between here and here. Because in the beginning, you don't get that choice. You don't get both. So which one are you going to want? So I'm going to have a little show of hands in the room. How many people would vote for cash being more important? Really? Therefore, everybody's voting for this. Is that true? Show of hands. Come on now. Don't be shy.
References would create leads as well, so that they keep coming back to you. Give them a reason to keep coming back. Why do they like your product? Do you have their trust that they continue?
Right. Right. You're now a accredited vendor, maybe. You're a vendor that they love to do business with, and frankly, the more the merrier, because they like you, they like what you've done. Agree. Yeah.
Well, I have more of a question as to what you meant by a reference. How does that person get your product if you're not selling it and never getting cash?
Well, you give it away. So the first one. So let's go to the hard one. So would you give away your product in order to get a reference in the beginning? Hard question. Okay, so you're going to take equity dollars. I just gave this young lady $100,000, and rather than getting $25,000 from the customer, she'll take my $25,000 of my $100,000, and in fact spend it effectively on getting that customer. How do you feel? Is that a good idea? How many vote yes? Good idea. Okay, that's the right decision to make. And this is the hardest one that I go through as board of director guy, chairman, or CEO, mentor, whatever the case may be. is get this first. Now, you want to argue a deal, and we can talk about what the context of that thing should look like going forward, because there are ways of making sure that you get a fair swing in the play. For instance, what you want is a whole lot of marketing. So this gentleman right here talked about marketing in terms of helping. You want a YouTube video out of them. You want a 1-minute YouTube video out of them. You want a case study out of them in terms of proving the value proposition. You want them to appear at conferences. You want them up on your website as a happy customer with a little soundbite up there. We are delirious with joy in terms of doing business with this company. You want all you can get to make up for what you left on the table right here. Okay? Because this first customer, do you think it's going to be easy sledding for that first customer? You just put out 100,000 lines of code. Is it perfect? Is it got any bugs in it? Is it working right? Okay? So believe me, this is not an easy job. City of North Vancouver, right over here, I'm in theory known for one big area, and that's Parks and Recreation. We started with North Vancouver right over here, and they went through a lot of agony with us in order to get to this point. Hung in. I didn't give it to them for free, but what I did was I gave them the licensing for free at that time, and I charged them an annual maintenance fee, which was standard for everybody. Okay, so they got the product for free, but in exchange, I expected product help right here, bug fixes, give me the features you need, all that kind of feedback. And secondly, I wanted marketing help right here, which is what this represents. Is that clear? Okay, so good on you guys. If you already figured that out, it's the absolute right decision to make. Okay, so let's keep on going. Oops, sorry. Just one button right here. So this is a graph with obviously XY axis. This is time, and this is two measures, if you wish. One is number of customers, second is risk. This is the risk curve right here. So as the number of customers that you acquire goes up, in fact, risk goes down. Okay? And this is actually a pretty critical point right here, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. However, what I want to do is ask the audience, you guys in the audience, where are you? So my question for you is I'm going to go down this list right here, and if you could just put up your hand saying I am at that spot. And you have to be, you're not part of the way into this one. For instance, you're either here or here. When in doubt, round down, back to the prior one. Is that clear? Okay, so let's go down this list. You are at the idea stage. Who's at the idea stage? Okay, excellent. You're at the discovery stage in terms of your innovation or technology actually works. And you're trying to figure that out. So who's there? Okay. I do business, I'm chairman of the board of a company in Victoria called Redmond Technologies. They're in the semiconductor business. They make specialty semiconductors for the medical imaging industry and the security industry, baggage scanning, basically radiation detection. And it took them 15 years to get the technology to work. 15. This is pure physics. We got more physics PhDs than the University of Victoria does over there. So it's really, really hard. Hardest technology I have ever seen. So this is not a trivial question. Okay? In some cases it is. If we're doing software development, for instance, by and large, this is pretty straightforward, but it's not trivial in a lot of other cases. Okay, who is at the MVP stage right now? Truly got an MVP. Okay. Who is at first customer use? You've actually got a customer that's using your product. Okay. Next one down. Do you feel you have product market fit? So there's this little wall that goes on at this stage, which is I need to adjust my price. I need to adjust my value proposition a little bit. I need to make sure that I'm targeting the right market. And suddenly, after doing this either for a week, a month, a year, whatever the case may be, you go, bingo, I got this thing locked in, just like a missile. I'm going to go right there, and there's a lot of opportunity there, and I do this really, really well. Who's here right now? Okay. Anybody in the figured out, basically it's called moving to positive cash flow. You got your pricing sorted out, and now you're starting to scale it a little bit. Anybody there? Okay. Is one of these? Okay. And then I doubt there's anybody in the room here, if you are, you shouldn't be here. Okay? All right, so it's a pretty good distribution all the way down the line. Thank you very much. That's a big help. It's going to be a fun evening. So what is your goal in this whole discovery process right now? You have a hypothesis that you're going to, you've got this value proposition that you want, and you're convinced that people are going to buy because you're a great innovation point for you, and you want to get out there and prove to the world that you in fact are correct. So you want to move from hypothesis to fact, and the way you do that is you move down the risk curve by acquiring customers right here. This is the critical spot. This is the sweet spot for investors. So after you get by this phase right here, you're generally at a phase called in revenue, and you've got customers and revenue, and call it the local VCs anyway, love you at this spot right here. This is a spot up in here where angels play in terms of investing as well. So I do a lot of angel investing. My 24 was angel investing. I used to do a lot of investing, I don't anymore. Okay, so is that clear? Is this okay? One last, this is kind of a little, call it stage by stage, one word if you wish to describe each one of those stages. Just as an interesting reference point. Okay, any questions? Are you doing okay? All right. So now what we're going to do is into the discussion topic tonight called Assessing the Opportunity, and we're going to take you through how to create your positioning statement. So does anybody here know what a positioning statement is? No. Okay, good. So little history. Back in I think it was late 80s, early 90s, there was a gentleman named Jeffrey Moore who graduated with a PhD in English in Kansas, I believe, one state in the middle of the United States. Decided that he was going to live in Silicon Valley at the time because it was just getting started, and he moved out to Silicon Valley. And he starts doing marketing jobs. So he goes into a startup company, and basically they want a business plan. They want what are we doing here? What do we really want to get good at? What are we going to focus on, and so on. So he did this a number of times, as I did with the growth strategy program in investing. And what turned out to be was a framework that he created called his positioning statement framework. And he then started applying it worldwide. Wrote a book called Crossing the Chasm. Anybody heard of that? Jeffrey Moore, very famous book. Okay, and if you haven't read it, read it. Okay, and that's the template that he generated. In early 1990s, I think it was 92 or 3, the tech industry got together, and I was one of the guys that helped out, and we brought him to Vancouver. And we sat him in the theater at BCIT for a day, and he took us through the position statement, blow by blow, if you wish. And I'm going to do that to you tonight. It took him 8 hours, and we've only got about 2 or so tonight, which are a lot smarter than I am in terms of studying in this type of situation, so we're able to do it much more quickly. Okay? So what we want to do is, again, explain the business terms of what you want to do, and then why you're going to win. So this is the, actually, I put the slide in Business Model Canvas, is part of, Angie, is part of the New Venture VC program to create the Business Model Canvas, or effectively thereof? Okay. So, I'm glad I asked. So, has anybody seen this before? Show of hands. Okay, about half, third. What it is a 9-box, if you wish, format to fill out that on the right-hand side defines revenue in terms of who you're going to talk to, how you're going to get it. That's this over here. This part over here is the cost associated with getting it. This is the sum of the cost over here. This is the sum of the revenue stream. Where my pen is right now is known as profit. So you'd like this to be greater than that. And this area right here is the wheelhouse called the value proposition. And we're going to fill that out tonight. So that could be why Angie wants me up first, because it kind of leads in gracefully to the completion of the rest of that. Is that first thing? Okay. Any questions? Okay, so here we go. So there are 7 lines to this position statement format, and this is them. We're going to do 6 out of the 7 tonight. The first 2 define who your target market is and what they need. Okay. So it's thinking of, the context would be, where am I gonna aim my business opportunity? Looking at it in a whole bunch of different ways, I love the phrase ideal customer. What is the ideal customer that you would like to acquire? What's that customer look like? Okay. Possibly within an organization, possibly a consumer, an individual, what do they look like? The next part is, what is their pain? Now, you're gonna hear me rant and rave on this one throughout the evening, but what we need is a real acute pain that cannot be solved right now. There is no way but to say acquire your product in order to solve this particular pain, and it's number one on their must-have list, high up the priority scale. Not clear. So the reason why we concentrate on that first is if you don't have a very passionate, committed buyer out there, you're not going to go anywhere. They will figure a way not to buy you or buy anything at all because they'll figure a way around it. Okay, so that's the first part. The second part is, I'll leave this line up for at this point in time, and I'll concentrate on number 4. You need to deliver value for your product to the customer or prospective customer. What's that value look like to them? And is it significant enough that they should start to consider you as a vendor of choice in terms of you solving their particular need? This one down here is competition. And so you're going to bump into competition all the time. So what you need to do is win. So this line here says which of the competitors, and A, B, and C just represent different competitors. And this line here is what your product does that's unique and different to any of those competitors out there, and you get the purchase order or you get the deal coming to you. It's called differentiation. Very important concept that we're going to go into in detail tonight. Now this line item down here is what an example would be, for instance, you have a support desk. Okay, so it's different than the product itself. You have things like a support desk, you've got some manuals or some information online, maybe you have an annual conference. You get the idea. You've got a big structure going for you that allows the customer to really feel happy about what they bought. So Apple runs that Genius Bar over in their various shops over there. I think that's a wonderful thing to have, because you walk in there, they don't charge you for anything unless it's hardware, and you get your questions answered. Pretty good. Okay. You get the idea. So we're going to break this evening into 3 parts, these 3 right here. And I'm going to talk in a little bit more detail about each one of them, and you're going to go ahead and create your position statement for each one of those 3 parts. And a few of you are going to come up here and present. Okay, make sense? All right, so let's go. So this is a positioning statement that I created for Uber. Now, we don't have Uber in Vancouver, but I've used it elsewhere. So let me let you read this in terms of just kind of getting familiar with what it does. Now, does that fairly represent Uber in your mind? Not bad? Okay, but in a very short period of time, you get an instant idea of what Uber is all about, right? So anybody know what's called the 17-second pitch rule? 17 seconds?
The elevator pitch,
And it is?
17 seconds long.
Okay, and why 17 seconds?
That's as long as the attention span is.
Okay, fair enough, that's probably part of it. The other part of it is when you go from the first, you're at a conference, and I get in the elevator and Samia, and I go, Samia, you're attending the same conference, right? Tell me what you do. And I'm going to the 10th floor from the first floor. That's 17 seconds typically in an elevator. Samia's got 17 seconds to tell me what she does. That fits in this right here. So what I'm looking for tonight is an equivalency of this thing, albeit with your particular innovation. That's what we're going to try and do tonight. Okay, now let's go ahead and get started. The other thing I added, possibly to the benefit of new ventures this year, is I think it's a good idea to connect it as well to sales. So I am, the reason I got the growth strategy program at ACETEC is we don't concentrate on anything but how to get revenue. revenue, revenue, revenue. I've never heard of a CEO getting fired for being over budget on revenue, never. And I don't expect it. So what I want to do is take a little bit of time tonight and connect what we're talking about with position statements to the generation of revenue. So this is a sales funnel. Has anybody in the room seen sales funnels here before? Okay, a few people, not very many. So the structure, the basic structure of a sales funnel is it's a waterfall. So the blue target market up top is the collection of all opportunities, all the names possible that could buy your product. So it could be thousands, millions, whatever the case may be. And what happens is you need to go through some activities to figure out who would like to, is interested in buying your product. So let's start working our way down the list here for just a second. So the next thing you do is you get a bunch of people interested, not necessarily buyers yet, but interested. And then you drop through into the prospect stage down here, which is generally a very expensive stage if you're doing business development, because what you're now doing is actually doing possibly demonstrations if it's business to business, or various other support techniques to show them in detail exactly what you do. Okay? This is a fight right in here. This is where, if you wish, pardon the phrase, but the war occurs right in here. And then you get selected. So N becomes 1 down here, which is the reason for the 1-to-1. And generally in business to business, you're into legal stuff down here in order to try and get the deal closed. That's the process that evolves. What we're going to do tonight in this first part is talk about lines 1 and 2, because you need to get them, the ones that you want to move from interested to qualified. You want to take the best ones moving forward down here so that you end up with, in fact, a bunch of closed deals. You don't want to waste your time with the ones that aren't going to close. Okay, so there's a definite corollary to what the positioning statement can do for you in terms of the sales funnel. The other thing I would do with a positioning statement, and I've seen it done very effectively, is put it on your landing page. So somebody looking for you, say just through Google, is going to land on your landing page. They're going to go through looking at, pardon me, this thing right here, like the Uber, and they're going to go, yep, that's me, I want that, or no, that's not me, I'm going to move on to someplace else, but they haven't taken any of your time. Okay, so 2 applications that are top of mind, landing page on your website, and your strategy in terms of going to market for selling. Any questions? We doing okay? All right, so a couple of metaphors that I did want to just get across. What you want to do is define the ideal customer and their needs. And I use the bullseye target, and you don't want to be in the outer ring because there's too much wobble in terms of interpretation. You want to get this thing nailed down, exactly what those needs are and what that buyer is going to look like. Okay, we're going to keep on going. So there's 2 examples that I've used. One is an outfit called Neoteric. These are long in the tooth ones, so I'm not violating any confidentiality. Neoteric's a company run by a chap named Jeff Ockenline locally. And what he did was specialize in, excuse me, blood, basically storage in hospitals. Now, it's in the UK, so this is situations where hospitals buy blood. Canada hospitals do not buy blood. It's freely available, so it's a different business model. But for situations where blood banks, departments, and hospitals, and they need to lower their costs by reducing blood wastage and transfusion and labor. They're pretty focused in terms of where they're trying to nail costs down. Okay, and also who we're going to talk to. So who would you go talk to in this case? What would you do? Let's say you're in the UK, you're in London. What would you do?
Talk to the
Find out
NHS.
if you got a fit.
NHS?
Pardon?
Talk to the NHS.
Mhm. Okay, so that's National Health Service over there. Now, let's say you want to go talk to a hospital. Who in the hospital are you going to go talk to? You're going to go talk to the CEO of the hospital? No.
Probably talk to somebody that works in management in the blood bank department.
Yeah, exactly. So everybody hear what this gentleman said? Is that mic for general purpose? Or is
Yeah.
it for me getting recorded?
Just for you, again.
Right there, okay. So this gentleman said management, say senior management in the blood bank area. Yep. I would talk to whoever holds that budget responsibility, and it could be the CFO directly, or it could be the blood bank manager or some other individual, but there's somebody accountable for getting those costs down, okay? And it's pretty focused in terms of where they're gonna go down, because the next question you wanna ask is, or I would be asking this individual, is have you identified exactly where you want those costs down? And if they say, yep, I want transfusion labor down and I want blood wastage down, bingo, you got a hit, okay? So you gotta talk to the right person with the right questions and understand their fit, because you're gonna build your business to in fact solve these particular problems right here. That's gonna be the next block. Okay? This one here is Fit Brains. Gentleman's name is Michael Cole. Michael had this thesis whereby he connected with the university, a doctor at the University of Pittsburgh, who had worked for the NFL and done a lot of work on concussions. So in doing so, mapped the brain and decided that there was a commercial opportunity for mapping the brain. And the application would be, and I always get into the doghouse when I talk about this, ladies that are at home, that are age 35 to 55, sometimes they've got some kids and they're at home and they're kind of housebound and they feel that they're not exercising their brains enough, okay? And I'm not trying any biases or anything like that, so I need to stay out of trouble. This lady's laughing right here, so you need to cut me a little slack here. So what this was targeting was we are going to create some method, if you wish, and it actually turned out to be some apps that are in fact going to exercise their brain in an efficient, effective way. So by apps, we can go in there for a very short period of time and understand exactly what part of your brain you're going to used, and exercise a little more, and away we go. Okay, pretty targeted. All right. So now comes you. So this is the first part of the positioning statement. What I want you to do is you got 10 minutes to create version 1. Okay, so I want the 4 line. So you take a piece of paper, you write down the word for, and then the second 2 words who need, and you fill in the blanks going from left to right after those. Is that clear? Any questions? And then what I'd like to do is have a couple of volunteers, say 2 at the most, in terms of coming up to the front of the room and just reading what you got, we'll have a conversation. Okay? Now, again, this is break time, so if you want water, coffee, maybe pizza's all done, I can't see that far, and the bathrooms are over here. a little for what you're working on, a minute or two, just stream of consciousness, and then we'll talk about those first two.
So me and my sister are in the works of creating can you hear me back there? No? Okay, I'll try to speak louder. Creating an all natural skincare line with no chemicals added at all. So it'd be ingredients that are just naturally sourced from within your own kitchen. And anything else would be outsourced internationally from women vendors. So coffee would be from Peru or Ethiopia. So it would be very environmentally conscious at the same time, socially conscious. So what I wrote down is environmentally conscious, so for families, for children, men could use it, women, anybody really. The main goal within the company is to promote self-awareness, self-care, and the importance of being the best you and the best version of yourself. So growing up, a lot of that was done within our own home. I mean, my mom taught us to take care of our skin naturally with stuff that we found at home. So that would be the 4. We also said it is for anyone who's tired of costly, overpriced products that are full of chemicals and preservatives. It also is for those that really care about what you're putting onto your body. Your skin is your biggest organ. We often think that we need fancy products or very expensive treatments to take care and maintain it. So just producing that naturally and taking care of it within your own home. In terms of who needs it, we said women and children. The problem being solved is that there's no chemicals in these products. You're supporting women-run businesses internationally and within the community. So it's just, again, generating that revenue for women to eventually put back into their own communities and their own children.
Okay, all right, so a hand for Samia. Let's have a little Q&A. So we need this thing to be a little brief, but what happens, Samia, in this process is you start out wide and you start wordsmithing and came down. And you do so by going and talking to people. One of the things you're going to hear me say a lot tonight, and right at the end, is what you want to do is take this thing out. And there's a gentleman at Stanford University called Steve Blank, as in boom boom, Blank, B-L-A-N-K. And what he does is he actually writes a terrific blog in terms of startups and so on. Great, great, great individual to follow. And his favorite phrase is get out of the building. So we're in the Baskin office right now. You want to go talk to people with what we're going to talk about tonight and say, is this right? Is this true? Is this the best it can be? So when you create version 1, you at least got something beyond a white piece of paper, and then you're going to shop it. You're going to work it in the marketplace, talk to potential customers, investors, all that kind of good stuff as well. That's where this is going. Okay, so let's go to the first line. Who are you aiming this thing at again? Who is the ideal buyer? Give me a picture of an ideal buyer in your mind.
Women and mothers.
Okay. Women? Any particular reason why mothers versus just women?
Yeah, so mothers and women specifically, women because they teach children on how to maintain themselves in
Okay, that's good.
regimen. So just starting early on, I mean, that's how I learned.
Okay.
How to make sure my skin is maintained.
Okay.
And then also they usually are the ones that pass knowledge and information on and make sure that they not only benefit themselves, but the community at home.
Okay. Not to talk anything in particular, is there any geography associated with what you think your product will apply to? Is it worldwide?
It would be worldwide.
Worldwide? Okay, so we don't need to talk about that. All right, so let's go to who need. And, sorry?
Can I just ask a question? When you're doing this planning, what scope are you looking at? Like, I completely appreciate that
Absolutely, yeah.
worldwide is the potential, but would you want to narrow your scope to
Yeah.
focus when you're talking MVP to something more defined?
And the answer is yes. I'd actually talk about narrowing it into what I can see right here. in terms of just getting started. So,
Who you can talk to.
right, we want to separate out beachhead and MVP. So let me just write the word beachhead down. And I'll come back and answer your question in due course during the evening, but your thing is right. However, if I'm an investor, what I love to see is mothers without any constraints, because that's the world, and therefore, this is a need and a strategy, if you wish, but this has got big connotations to me in terms of a vision. I think, whoa, we got just mothers throughout the world, whoa, that's a big market. Got my attention. Okay, so who need? What are they really, what are they trying to solve? What's mom trying to solve? What's the need that she's trying to solve? What did you write down?
I wrote down creating conscious, environmentally conscious society. So self-awareness and self-care. So it's like really emphasizing on the fact that your best you, or your best version of yourself is when you take care of yourself.
Okay, so I like that last part. So self-awareness through self-care, if you wish, of skin. For me, is that fair?
It is fair.
Of skin. Is that fair? That's what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
Okay. All right, good one. All right, anybody else? Yes, sir. You want to come on up here?
Yeah.
So Rachel, or could I get you guys to put these up there?
So I'll start with a little intro and then
Yeah.
come back more. Hi, everybody. I've got a company in the idea stage. We're developing software for the fire inspection industry. So our core is what would be fire protection companies. Those are the companies that a building would hire to inspect. That's what that would be my core, is that's their focus market.
So fire inspection companies. They
Fire
are
protection companies.
Fire protection. Okay. Is there a name of one that's a prominent one of them?
Vancouver Fire, Tyco.
Oh, Tyco,
Yeah.
Okay.
That type of thing.
Okay.
Tyco might be a bit big for an initial kind of
Uh-huh.
company, but Van Fire is actually what we're talking about.
Sure.
And then who need, so their pain point that they're facing is, or at least the key one we're focusing on initially, is solving their inspection challenge. So currently they do their inspections on paper, and we're saying, you got to digitize that. That in and of itself has a value from an operational efficiency standpoint. The other value proposition or the pain point that they might not see they have, but that is evident when you try and solve it, is that they can provide a lot more value having this technology or technology like this to their customer base. So it actually gives them more selling opportunities.
Okay.
That's
So let me just put this up here again. So we're targeting the four as fire protection companies.
yes.
Okay. Protection companies. Okay. And LTD is short for that. Okay. Who need? And again, it sounds like it's a workflow issue. All right. So yeah, we got a lot of manual stuff going on and manual paper.
Mhm.
Is that right?
Yeah.
And we need to put on a tablet or do something like that in order to get it.
Digitize their process.
Yeah. And so what we're gonna do is they need to improve their workflow, right, in terms of data capture?
Yeah.
Because it's too costly.
It's very cumbersome and also not
Error prone,
Yes.
timing problems, so I can just think of our.
lack of consistency,
Yeah.
lack of quality.
Exactly.
Yeah, they don't even, sometimes they don't even record it from a piece of paper into a database.
Right, so we need workflow improvement. And the areas would be, we're gonna talk, cost, time, accuracy. Anything
Quality
else?
is a word they use a lot.
Quality, okay, we'll put that in as well. Okay? Is that fair?
That's it.
Okay, everybody okay? Okay, good one, good one. Cameron?
Yes.
Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? One more. All right. We'll take the gentleman in the black right there. Now, if you want to come up and talk to me at break times about what you got, feel free to do that. I'm perfectly happy to do that. Well, this gentleman was walking up. We had, I was talking to Angie earlier about this one. There's a fellow last year, I generally at the end of the say, I don't want to hear from anybody about what you're doing. And some people call it breakthrough and so on, or I talk to them during the breaks and I get interested. The fellow last year had an AI capability he was developing for gaming engines. So it was a plug-in into there, and he was going to drive costs down, drive revenue up. And I got pretty intrigued actually, because I thought there'd be another angle that he could use this technology for as well. Apparently got to at least 25, top 25. You didn't get the top 10, right?
Just
Okay.
missed.
Okay, just missed. Okay. Anyway, this is why it's fun for me to hear what's going on. I'm sorry, your name is?
Ron.
Ron, wow.
That's me.
Nice to meet you. Go for it, Ron.
Perfect. So I guess I'm going to jump into it. But we're developing a mobile app called Favor. And Favor is a mobile app that is for people who cannot secure credit from financial institutions. And so they resort to lending from family and friends whenever they have a shortfall, just so they can paycheck to paycheck. And so Favor is for those who need to keep track of these personal loans and are looking for a way to actually take those loans and help those loans make them rebuild their credit history so that they can turn just regular financial institutions for lending.
Okay, so this is a pretty interesting one. So let's get this one down, Ron, so that I can understand a little better. So we're targeting, who's the four again?
The four is anybody who basically has no credit or bad credit, and so they can't resort to the regular financial institutions to get loans. So
Okay.
they turn to their family and friends.
Okay, so I'm stopping there. So these are for people with bad credit risk?
Or no credit. Yeah.
Okay, or no credit?
Or credit or no credit.
Okay,
So recent immigrants or people that grew up in communities that don't have financial institutions nearby,
okay.
just remote communities.
We need to do a couple of things, right?
They need to-
First off, they need to get the money, because they want some money.
They need to get the money.
Yeah.
But more importantly, to be able to track their loans so they can repay them on time. So people would keep lending them in the future.
Okay, so that is a definite need, is it, versus trying to duck out a loan? I'm just being a little practical here.
If they want to be able to borrow again, the next time that their paycheck falls short, then
Right.
they should probably repay it on time.
Right, so you want to track loans
Yeah.
which is leading to repay, which in turn leads to credit validity or something like that, credit worthiness?
Yes, informal credit worthiness, so they can actually track that, but also
Okay.
formal credit worthiness, because by tracking it in our app, we're also going to register it with the credit reporting agencies.
Okay, good. Okay, so informal and formal credit worthiness, is that the way to describe it?
Yes.
Okay, and formal. Okay. So we do okay?
Yes.
Very good. Great, another one. Wow, we're gonna have a great time tonight. This is fun. All right, thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
Okay, now the next part is gonna be a little long, Michael will be presenting, because there's a lot of, interesting stuff to talk about, make sure we understand, the concept going forward. So, let's go. So, this is what we're gonna talk about now, 3 and 4. Line 3 connects your buyer to you. And we're gonna do that by using the Google search capability thinking. So what we want to do is ask you, if you were a buyer of your product, what would be the Google search words that you would type into the search bar right here in order to find you? So you got your website, if you wish, on one side, search engine optimization going for you big time. What are the search engine words that you want in your website that allows you to get a potential buyer to meet, to understand that you can solve their needs? Those 3 charts over there. Is that clear? Any questions about that? So Google search, you know your product. Now you got to represent an out-of-body experience, a potential buyer. What does that search criteria look like? Okay, next one is that provides. So the metaphor I use here is a ambulance. And what we're now trying to do is deliver value to the buyer.
Excuse me, I have a question. For your previous slide, you are talking about the product. So, so innovation can be, yeah, so for your previous slide about creating a product that your customer needs. And so innovation can be a innovative technology or product. However, it can be innovation in the business model.
Correct.
Yeah, so how does that apply to that?
Same thing.
Yeah.
So, who want to find you possibly for other reasons, such as looking into what your needs are. We can, if you're okay, we can add you to the fourth one. I'm going to big focus on the other people here. Maybe we talk about it in the break as well, okay? But it's the same thing, same principle, okay? Applies consistently. So the lady's right, innovation, you remember Drucker, the second or third slide in, it said innovation. Innovation comes in two forms. One is technology, like semiconductor folks over in Victoria. Second, as she describes, is a different model, business model to approach a situation. The internet came along, and there's multi-sided platforms is what it's called right now. So all e-commerce is a multi-sided platform. You have buyers, vendors, suppliers, etc., going into this internet all in one location and doing business. And it's remarkable what's happened in the last 10 years. Okay, so you're absolutely right.
Yeah, and another question I have is about the whole model. So for example, now that we talk about disruption, so sometimes maybe people don't have that need yet. So maybe it's in 5 years people will realize the needs. So how does that apply to this?
Okay, so the same model applies, but maybe I'll add the word adoption to the discussion tonight as well. Okay, because you're right, timing is important. Where you may be in front of the demand from the public, if you wish, in terms of what you're going to offer. And that's, I've been there. Actually a couple of times. With some of my 24 investments, I've been there. It's very challenging, if you wish, because you got to keep putting money in to basically tread water, as the phrase goes. Okay. All right. So let's go to my ambulance. So there are three parts to an ambulance that, in my opinion, helps out the patient well, and they are quantity, quality, and timing. So let's go to timing. Ambulances get there pretty darn quick. Okay? Probably the quickest way that you can. The timing goes to this lady's question right here then, is what you have to offer showing up to help out your customer. In this case, it's the patient. So do you have a match between I need it now and you're ready to go now as well? Okay, that's that one. Quality. Quality is to the extent that despite what's going on in the patient's reality, the capability of the attendants in the ambulance can actually solve a problem. And in addition to that, they can check out the hospital if you wish, because they got communications and so on. And quantity, there's enough of them. There's enough capacity, if you wish, to take care of a problem, if it's multi-purpose and so on. So all value, in my opinion, has these three characteristics right there. So what we want to do now is start applying this. And we're going to go through some terminology. Because what I need to do is you and I to get consistent in terms of terminology of some keywords in the vocabulary of the technology industry. The first word is feature. Okay, so the feature is a thing that your product can do. Why that's important is in your MVP, you have to create a product that's got sufficient features to get the job done, but only necessary features, meaning not one more than what you need. A very critical factor, because in the software business where I was in my time, we estimated that putting in a feature, typically into a product, software product at the time, cost $50,000, a lot of money. So $50,000 is hard to come by. So what you want to do is make sure that the features you select are the ones you really need. Benefit. So we're going to get to that. The benefit is what the customer derives from using your product. So I was thinking of how to demonstrate that going in tonight. So this is the new BlackBerry Android. What's unique about it?
Keyboard.
There you go. So it's got a keyboard on it. So I bought this thing because of that keyboard. So is keyboard on this phone a feature or benefit? Why is it a feature?
Because it's unique to the cell phone. Wearable cell phones are just a touchscreen.
Yeah. So it performs a function called input and output, if you wish, mostly in, and it allows me to just interact with the device, right? What's the benefit of that keyboard?
But if you bought it, because of the keyboard, it's really better.
Yeah, so why I bought it was because of that. So what's the benefit to me in this keyboard?
Physical.
That's correct. Tactile input. I like that. I don't particularly like the screen one. I guess my gray hairs are telling the story, but nonetheless, I love the keyboard because of the feel. So I'm going to stick with that. So I wanted to use that example tonight to show the difference between the two. So let's go down to the two characteristics, two categories, if you wish, that actually features drop into. And in a couple of slides, we're going to go into more detail. One of them is measurable or tangible, such as financial results. The second is hard to measure or intangible. Which is the category that I bought this BlackBerry on because? Is it intangible or tangible?
Very tangible.
Very well.
Very tangible.
Do you? Anybody else got another opinion?
I would say it's emotional in the sense that it's because it speaks to you, it's how you like to interact with the device.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes me feel good in terms of touching those keys and going forward. Okay? Now we're going to get into some other examples, but you get the idea. It is definitely an emotional buy from my point of view. Okay? The next two are costs. You want to get paid doing business with the opportunity, the customer. And lastly, what is the value? So the value is an equation, and it looks like this. It's benefit minus cost. And generally the cost is price is your value. So this formula here creates value. Customer is going to go, I am expected to spend a certain amount of money. Who here has done a return on investment calculation? Ever? Okay, you want to look it up in Wikipedia. All I'm doing is return on investment calculation. Return on investment. I is investment, return is right here. The difference between the two in terms of that measure is this value right here. We are selling value. You are selling value for your product. You're not selling on price right here at all, the majority of which falls into cost right here. I need to get that point clear. So, question for you, do you need to be lowest price in a competitive situation? This gentleman here is exercising his head going back and forth, left and right. So the answer is no.
No.
And the reason is?
You don't want to be the cheapest product on the market because it's not necessarily something in your advantage.
Right.
Especially when you are new. So, and then that leads you also to a certain type of clients that you might not want to have actually.
Right. Anybody else got any thoughts? Yes.
So the benefits can be intangible. So the value can be it's not just measured by the price. Yeah, so people, for example, the brand and those kind of, people are willing to pay more.
So stay tuned because there's a couple of slides on that. So let's return to the formula right here. Your value is this one right here. Let's say you want to lock in price and not be price dependent, but you want to win the war. What's the equation look like? The math majors, what are you going to do? Well, pretty straightforward. You make the benefits as big as you can get them, right? It's this one right here. So the magic thing tonight to learn in line 4 is you got to figure out what the benefits are to the customer and articulate them very clearly. So line 4 is what's your best shot in terms of the benefit to the customer. That's what line 4 is all about tonight. So the bigger, the better, because then you can charge more and get away with it. So let's go to Apple. Apple makes computers, obviously. Of course, they like them. So let's go to price. Are they lowest price? Hell no, we all know that. And what is the benefits? What are a couple of benefits that Apple gives us in terms of value, in terms of separating them from others?
So I'd say a really big one is the Apple ecosystem, where you can integrate all your data into one kind of system and have transfer seams between devices. That's a really nice thing to have, and once you have it, it's really hard to add it to a different system. It's
Yeah.
actually not easy.
Did everybody hear what he said? No? I'll stand up, say it again.
Sure. I said one of the great things about Apple is the Apple ecosystem. How do you go through Apple products, all of your data, all information is within that ecosystem. And that's a really good benefit, obviously for convenience sake, and also it's a pain in the ass to transfer to a different ecosystem. So you have even more value kind of staying with Apple.
Right. So what this gentleman also goes to is lock-in. So once Apple gets you, and you're on an iPad, you're on an iPhone, you're on the computer, stuff like that, and it's just seamless transfer, no brainer, it's just ducky, right? It's a great spot. Okay, anything else? What else do you like about Apple? What's their benefit? They pump benefits out like there's no tomorrow. They're the world's best probably at it. What else do they do for us that really separates them from others?
Their design.
Yeah. Industrial design. They have an organization, I don't know if they still use it, called IDEO, and they are the best industrial design out there. They spend a whole lot of time worried about that versus frankly, an Apple, not an Apple, but a Windows computer that's generally speaking doesn't have the investment in the design itself. So they really worried about that. And it looks good, right? It makes me feel good walking around with one. It's very appealing and compelling, right? Yeah. Okay, anything else? Yes, sir, Ron?
The software is made for the hardware, so it actually performs well.
Yeah.
So unlike Windows, because you can have Windows on any type of hardware.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
yeah.
So performance.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, now, conclusion from this side is what? What are we trying to do in terms of your innovation? We are trying to pump as much benefits and provable benefits out as we possibly can. That's the goal. All right, so keep on going. So this is the competitive equation, and it basically gets down to your value is better than the competitor's value with the same formula that I talked about on the prior slide. Pretty straightforward. However, there's a little wrinkle I added at the bottom, and this is part of sales, which we're not going to get into in detail tonight. But the buyer's got to agree that, in fact, this is the case. You may think so, but the buyer's the one spending their money, so they've got to agree that that's in fact true. Okay? All right, so this gets in a little bit more detail, and we've got a couple of slides in ever more detail. People got these two parts of them, if you wish, brain or logical, and heart or emotional. And notice the heart's doing some pretty good pumping right here. Took a bit of a slide to put that one together. And so I call it quantitative and qualitative, and this is everybody in this room and frankly the world. And we're all composed of some combination of logical and emotional decision criteria. Okay? And here comes the logical stuff. And generally speaking, in my opinion, this is the big three. So the first one is financial changes. So you go into a company and say, we are going to do the following. Increase your revenues, increase your profits, reduce your costs. You get the idea. We're going to do some productivity enhancements. If you buy my machinery, or my machine, I'm sorry, you're going to, in fact, have greater throughput in your production process. And the last one is risk management, which is think insurance. So people buy solutions to reduce risk. That's quite a fairly common strategy as well. And these are the three big buckets, in my opinion, that, if you wish, compose the logical component of decision making. And now to this lady's comment over here. Here are some benefits in terms of emotional, and I'll just let you read those. And this is by no means a complete list. Okay, any thoughts or comments? Does ring a bell with you? Okay, and hopefully some of those are what you expected and so on. I'm sure you probably have others that you'd like to add as well. Okay, so we're in the benefits. These things here are benefits, as are these things right here. So what I want you to do is start thinking about what your benefit looks like, what your benefits are going to be to a buyer. Is it some logical benefits, or is it some emotional ones as well? You'll probably be both, right? I would think. So think hard. Okay, now we go to the term. So these are lines 3 and 4. So neoteric is, if you go into Google and you type in blood transfusion management hardware and software solution, you're gonna get them. So that's the Google search. They're gonna be in the top 10, and they made damn sure they were. And what it provides is a controlled access storage so that blood is, unused blood is not wasted. So here's the scenario. Operating rooms are here in a hospital in the UK. The blood department is over here. They take the blood out in the morning and they bring it over to the operating room. In the good old days, nearby the operating room. And then there's demand for consumption as it's needed during the day. In the good old days, it wasn't refrigerated. So you could not take it back to the operating room and they threw it out. Like they just poured it down the drain. Not good. So what this gentleman did was, he ended up creating a little fridge on wheels, and he would load up the blood over here, wheel it to the operating room area, and dispatch from the operating room, dispatch into the operating rooms from the fridge. And then at the end of the day, whatever was left would go back into the original blood area as well. So just a little fridge on wheels solved the problem. I'm sure there was more to it than that, but nonetheless, that's what it was. So does this solve one of those problems in line 2? Does doing this solve blood wastage or transfusion labor?
Wasted.
Right. Okay, so that's the next thing I want to leave you with is you have to connect line 2 in terms of what the pain is for the customer with what you do right here. And you're going to hear me talk to the 3 people that are up doing their presentations about that very issue. Are we making that connection clear? All right. So this is again FitBrains. So FitBrains was a scientifically proven system courtesy of the University of Pittsburgh and research. He divided the brain into 5 areas. He basically created an app that exercised the brains to varying degree in each of those 5 areas, and it worked like a charm. Worked like a charm. Now, so these are the casual games that we provided. What happened was, it's an interesting story. So this was back in the good old days, about 7 or 8 years ago. And we ended up first producing this software in SaaS form as well. So it was just on a computer like this. And then we had about maybe $18,000 left or something like that, almost broke. And we created an app. So we put it into a mobile platform. And that's why this is in red, because this is what we learned. So we changed what the strategy was in terms of delivery mechanism. And we went from nothing to first place on Apple's iTunes Store demand list in about 2 months. Just boom, we went from nothing to the top of the list, stayed there for 12 months, got a call from an outfit called Rosetta Stone. Anybody heard of Rosetta Stone? Yeah. And this is right out of the blue. They said, we love what you're doing, and we want to buy you. So we did a little tap dance and sold them for $12 million. And a year and a half earlier, we would have been broke. True story. Just little tweaks like this can cause huge results. Okay. And next one is, again, this is what you're going to want to do. Google search. What is the benefit? The benefit that addresses this need right here, and it's your best shot. Your very best shot. Okay? 10 minutes. And yep, we'll come to that in a couple minutes later. Okay? So this is what I want you to do. I want you to do lines 3 and 4. So Google search and benefit. Now, does anybody want to chat here with me during the break? Am I
and manufacturing and warehousing site. So they
What are the benefits you can?
automation, yeah, so they
Oh,
so
yeah.
technology enables the heads up when you didn't work out, they didn't get them. So they actually did a complete pivot, they pulled the product from the market and they.
I mean, I guess he's mirrors, but like.
And they work with big.
Right now, you can't even
Well, we're.
Yes.
So as somebody's
you almost
doing
reverse it.
manufacturing component
What
first
you got, and,
it tells them the steps,
you gotta
step by
go
step.
through-
Oh, you can
Slide on that.
Steps are.
I know.
And then also for, warehouses, it shows them basically as they down files.
Okay,
Where the
1 minute.
And business.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Angie, would you mind writing, because your writing's probably a whole lot better than mine. So we're gonna start with Samia, and that's, this one right here. And we're gonna do, line 3 and 4.
Okay.
Okay, so.
Back up here.
Hold up.
So for point 3, I said it would be a DIY all natural skincare line. So it's very straightforward. It gets to the point. If you're doing it yourself, you're mixing the products on your own. All natural, organic.
Okay, so let's go through that again. So I would type in DIY,
All natural and an organic skincare.
okay? So we'll just let Angie write that down.
How short should that be?
Well, how smart's Google? My opinion, and I'm not sounding like a wise guy, it's true. I find I can type in almost a paragraph in there and they get me going to where I want to. Their AI capability is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And it's getting so good that you can literally do stuff like this right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I am blown away in terms of how, and it's the pace of advancement as well.
Yeah.
You can pump harder questions at them right now and you get answers.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't get a list of documents, you actually get an answer.
What you are generating here, how long should that be, or how short should that be?
Well,
Is there a general?
She's okay with this.
Okay.
I mean, we gotta try and get this within 17 seconds. It's gonna be a bit of a challenge version 1.
Oh, absolutely.
Right, but let's get it down first. My desire tonight is to get something down on paper and then we're gonna start working on it. Okay, does that answer the question?
Absolutely.
Okay. I need to turn this on. Okay, so line 4.
So line 4, because our company is going to be a subscription-based company, it allows for you to add extra benefits. So what we were thinking is putting either a flashcard or some sort of cue that informs people of what they can do to be self-aware and take care of themselves. So whether it's take 5 minutes to yourself or go out there and give back, like go and give about an hour of yourself. That usually gets me feeling a lot better if I'm down. So volunteering, just cues that will get people motivated to get out there and be more self-aware to gain self-care. And that would be a small little like card, a little incentive, a little benefit that you can throw into the subscription box with their products that gets them involved and more active.
Okay, so I'd say it's a tier 2 benefit. We need a tier 1 benefit, so let me just walk over here. Self-awareness through business care. So what you were doing is going at self-awareness, is that right? In terms of the benefits that you're trying to deliver. Okay. Okay. I obviously I come from a different gender than you do. So is there something about self-care of skin that is the benefit? Like, can you, I'll go to a logical strategy because I'm an engineer and go, I can improve your skin in 10 days when everybody else needs 100 or something like that. You get the idea, right? And you're going to a multi-pro, which is probably this one right here. I don't know. This is where the conversation starts. So I mentioned with Angie last year, I was talking to this fellow, the AI engineer. He was either revenue up or cost down. we probably spent 3 or 4 hours going through what the heck it's all about. And I said to him, you need to take your possession statement, create 2 of them, this thing right here, and go up to people like CEOs of gaming companies and go, which one? You know, you choose, you tell me which one's more important, cost or revenue, okay? And I think you're in the same position. So tonight, I don't have too much of a difficulty you putting down a couple of benefits, one for each one of those 2. And then just getting started in terms of thinking, because that's why we're here tonight, is just to kind of get your gray cells going. Okay? Okay, does that make sense?
Yeah, that does.
All right, so next time up, can you come back with a couple of benefits right here? Or maybe give it to Andy, she can write it down, and then, then we'll go from there. Is that okay? All right. Okay, so second person up was Cameron. Fire system going. Cameron. Are you business to household or business to commercial? You have a desire?
We're B2B. We'd be selling to the protection companies, at least that's the initial part of the program.
Yeah, okay. And are they going business to business or business to commercial? Business to consumer.
Business, yeah, so they're doing,
So like this building?
yeah, they do inspections on the sprinklers and the fire.
Okay.
So the product is a digital fire inspection platform.
So what's the Google search?
That's what I would search. Yeah, digital fire inspection platform, software.
Okay,
Would be the more accurate.
okay. Digital fire inspection software.
Yeah. And my phone turns, so I can't read things anymore, but, what did I write? All right, well, I have a good idea what it is. So, it provides an innovative innovative inspection process. So they're changing from their paper form to a digital platform. So in the idea is to take them or to build the product so it works with their process. So because right now they fill out a form and it doesn't work with their process. It's quite sort of disruptive. So work with build the platform to work with their process, and that's in and of itself should create efficiencies in what they're doing. And then that's their, where are we? Sorry. Oh, it's up here now. So that's going to be cost reduction, time improvement, and then the digital recording of the accuracy and quality. So that's
So let's go back to here. Which one of those are you into logical or emotional benefits for these guys?
Logical.
Yeah, correct. So you need to be, you're going to save money or risk or whatever.
Yeah, so it's going to be productivity increase, decrease, and in essence, you're going to decrease the cost from that. Decrease productivity.
Okay.
And you're going to get, you should get increased revenues because you have new value propositions to sell.
Yeah.
To their customers.
Okay, so let me I was in workflow, a lot of those 8 startups I did workflow. Okay, so one of the things you're about to do is change management, big time, and you referenced that just a couple of minutes ago. That's going to be brutal, getting people to go from a piece of paper that they've used for 20 years, and they got it down pat to an iPad and da-da-da-da-da, hard. Okay, so can you increase revenues for your customer?
Yeah.
How?
Because so parts I haven't really touched on are new value propositions they're going to be able to offer to their customer base. Quicker turnaround on reporting, better planning for budgeting purposes for property management, because they'll have a better visibility into their maintenance and repair cycle for their assets.
Okay, sounds pretty good. Okay, increased profits generally, it'll come from revenue up, cost down, so that is a derivative. You're going to decrease costs?
Yeah.
How?
Process efficiency. So they'll be able to conduct, you get about a 30% efficiency in your inspection timing. So you're able, but you're still able to charge the same amount because you've got customers that are willing to pay X for solving the problem. You can do it for a lower cost.
Okay, so are you going to say staff?
Staff growth for sure, because you can get more out of your inspectors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was in Parks and Rec, as I mentioned at the beginning. I actually use that phrase in terms of the recreation industry is highly unionized. Thing you don't go into is say to the Parks and Rec director, I'm going to save 25 staff. That's fatal. So what you do is you say, you have 25 staff right now, you're going to keep the 25 at 25 for the next 10 years versus adding 10, 10, and 10. You get the idea?
You get more out of it.
Yeah. Okay. So you're going to do this better for obvious reasons, right? We talked about this. Are you going to get better data out of this thing as well?
Yes.
Okay.
By a huge margin.
Okay. So a little trick of the trade, if you wish. There's a thing called a return on investment calculator. And what you do is you say to the CEO, dear CEO, what are your revenues right now? And in this scenario, can you envision your revenues being better? Line one. Line two, can you decrease your costs by better utilization of staff going forward? You get the idea. Line three, risk management. Do you think you can do better because of accuracy, timeliness, and so on in that area? And you ask him for data of his company, and you put it into this little Excel spreadsheet, and on the lower right-hand side comes the number, which is your benefit to him, courtesy of all these things right there.
Right.
Okay? Now, which one would be the one that you would bet on as being the big winner out of those 9 of them or whatever?
The productivity increase that results in an increased cost. Because I
Okay.
see this as kind of two sides of the same coin, right? Increased productivity, you're kind of increasing your costs at the same time, because you're getting
Yeah.
more out of your assets.
Okay, you want some number. I'm gonna.
Oh, that's that 30%.
CEO, so 30% decrease?
Increase in productivity, so you're gonna get 30% more efficient inspections.
Okay. So let's go down another gray hair piece of data. Which one of these ones do you think a CEO resonates with the most in terms of a benefit? Which one does he like to talk about the most?
Probably
Top
increased
Pardon?
revenue. Increased revenue.
And Cameron says increased revenues. Anybody else got any other suggestions?
Profits.
Profits?
Decreasing the cost.
Okay, so let's just stop there. I have found that this is without a doubt the one to talk about. I am from Missouri on decreasing costs. Generally speaking, it's very, the reality is when it gets live, it doesn't happen. And recall, we were talking about a reference. You need a reference in the beginning. And if that's your benefit bet, you want to bet on when it's going to happen. So I'd actually be trying to tilt it, if you can, towards this one right here, or dead certainty on this one, causing some reduction in costs. So this has to go to there, in my opinion, which then goes to this one right here, per what that lady was mentioning. Okay? So, revenue. 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a home run if you say I can increase your revenue.
Would that, and would you say, because if they're, so they have to increase their customer base or be able to charge more? Those are the two factors.
Yeah, exactly.
So typically, from my perspective, we're talking increased customer base.
Mm-hmm.
So a key, so focusing on the competitive advantage that it offers their entity over others is where you're suggesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
I tried, and we're going to get to differentiation in line 6 in just a couple of minutes, and that's where I would go. So I would be interested in hearing what you're going to do. You're going to apply this technology workflow. You are not going to be the only game in town after a short period of time. So what are you going to do for differentiation in order to stay in front of the competition? Okay, I'm looking forward to hearing that.
Would you say that this is mainly about how do you frame this? Like, when you are talking about the increase of productivity, maybe you should frame it in a different way that suggests that cost is being decreased and the revenue is.
Yeah. So my comment about Parks and Rec, we're going to increase the productivity because we're going to take what was a giant amount of paper and we're going to automate it. We basically created an online, it's like an airline reservation system. We just took that model and put it into Parks and Rec. That's what it was.
Okay.
And so what are they going to do new, better, and different? Well, there's a whole bunch of those there as well. Let's go to the next slide. Believe me, so this one right here, we got participation up in the Parks and Rec area. Like we probably doubled, tripled, because we actually were able to communicate better with customers and get them happier. So they Parks and Rec guys get measured by how many turnstile clicks there are going through their facilities. That was important. So we had an emotional ticky mark right there because the public really warmed up to what we had to offer and what we were able to communicate to them. Okay. All right, Ron.
So we reworked our form hoop, but we'll just go over that. So go with the third line.
So the third line for Jeff.
Right. So Favor is an app to track and keep record of loans amongst family and friends. It provides users with a free service that helps them build their creditworthiness and incentivize repayment.
Okay, so hit me with line 3 again.
An app to track and keep record of loans amongst family and friends.
Does it hit? So,
It hits a lot of pain points when you Google it. The
Yeah.
first, I think, like 30 pages are just blog articles about how not to either lend to family or friends, or how, like how to get back from exile. So,
Amongst two family friends?
amongst family and friends.
okay. And then line 4? What's your biggest benefit?
Provides users with a free service that helps them build their creditworthiness and incentivizes repayment.
So, hit me with the company again.
Build creditworthiness
Yeah.
and incentivize repayment.
Okay, so I'm gonna let you get away with both. I'm gonna lock you in later, but, so there's 2 benefits. One is, incentivized repayments.
Yes.
And the other one is build creditworthiness, right?
Yes.
Okay. Let's say so I'm user software. And I walk into a bank with my 2 pages worth of track record, all of which is really good. Okay, the bank says to me, what did you delete? How do I know that it's complete?
So because it's app-based, if your informal credit record on the app isn't really meant for the banks to see. What the banks see is they'll hit Equifax or they'll hit TransUnion. And then the loans that you registered on our app actually get synced to Equifax or TransUnion because we help you formalize those informal loans and actually track them like a real credit trip. So if you borrow $200 for 3 months or $20,000 across 3 years with bi-weekly repayments for a car from your parents, for instance, you can actually register that, and the banks will see it as proper credit and not informal.
Okay. I see. And that's your connection to quote the informal market, right?
That's
through the credit tracking agencies.
Yes.
Okay. And again, how do I know that you got all the loans that you received on that list? All of them?
You don't, but you have more than you currently do, because right now, currently, all your informal loans are not on that list. But it's not all the loans that you ever had informally are gonna be on that list. You're still gonna inevitably lend $20 at a bar or $100 from your mom who maybe doesn't have a smartphone or doesn't like that idea of tracking something.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's snapshot.
Yeah, so just kind of ruminating in my mind. I'm playing banker here. All right, good one. All right, thank you guys very much. Okay, so we're coming down the home stretch. We're now with part 3 of 3. So what I wanted to do, however, was go to this right here in terms of back to our sales funnel. Right. So this line 1 and 2 allowed us to get from interested to qualified in terms of a connection with a potential opportunity in terms of him or her declaring what they want, need, and you actually matching that. So that was the first part up top. So you then successfully got them to the qualified thing here, and now the war is on. And what you want to do is get into being at least part of N. And typically in a sales process, and certainly B2B, the process goes, maybe there's 10 bids out there, and then it gets shrunk to a short list of somewhere 2 to 3, somewhere in that area, in order for the buyer to kind of net it down. And I think the consumer does the same thing in their mind right now, probably do too, at least I do anyway. So the notion here is you want to be part of N. And lines 3 and 4 are to get you to be part of that group. So you have to get in there and compete. So your benefits need to be strong, communicated very accurately and well, and convincing to a potential buyer. Now we're going to get into the big hammer, which is this line item right here, which is we want to move from N to 1 through the selection process right here. And that's line 5 and 6. Okay. So let's work into line 5 and 6. So I put together this diagram, if you wish, in terms of what it looks like to me. So the scenario is this. Let's say it's a business-to-business sale, so Cameron's situation. And Cameron's talking to a potential buyer, and there's a competitor out there, and there's Cameron right here. So it's roughly a horse race right now, which is why those two blue lines are at the same level. The next thing that happens is the buyer, this fire protection company, says, well, we got two guys, n equals 2, and what we want to do is get the competitor in first to talk about us, and the competitor is going to go in and try and point out their differentiation. So they're going to play a bunch of, it's like poker where you're playing aces, or a bad turn of phrase in British, it's called trump, where you end up playing that card as well, or the power card and so on. So what's going on next is the camera goes in the door and says, here's what I can do for you. And that wow area on the upper right-hand corner represents the difference in value between what they said they could do and what Cameron's doing. So provided that the customer agrees with the wow area, Cameron wins. That's how it works. So what you need to do is build your value proposition having two parts to it. A fundamental amount of value that's going to let the customer get their needs solved. And the second is the wow factor in terms of how you're different. That's what the construct is. Okay, so let's go to Neoteric. So their competitors were basically paper-based systems. Okay, and what they also did was they eliminated deaths from mismatching using a barcode confirmation. So when you do blood transfusions, if they do a mismatch, you can get killed. You die. In many situations I understand. My wife's a microbiologist, she says, yes, this is true. So what he did was, what Jeff did was, they put a barcode around the wrist of the individual, and they made damn sure that the blood that was going in was the blood required by that individual as well. Sounds pretty trivial, especially when matched with this blood transfusion system right here in terms of basically a fridge on wheels, but that worked. So their biggest issue was to eliminate the deaths. Okay, now Jeff and I went back and forth on this one, so let's go to line 4. Line 4 is reducing costs, right, blood wastage, and line 6 is avoiding deaths. So which one, being good Canadians, do you think would be most important as the key benefit to lead with? For me? Avoiding deaths. Avoiding deaths. That's what I was betting on as well. So Jeff and I was mentoring Jeff. He and I just went back and forth, back and forth. He went and talked to people, enough people that said, nope, it's actually this one right here. And he started selling, and he didn't get any sales. And the reason is the CFOs inside those hospitals make the decision, chief financial officers. And which of those items on that list do you think between 4 and 6, lines 4 and 6, the CFO is concerned about the most? Yeah, cost 1. So that's why this ended up being the final version. Jeff literally took marketing material, a whole bunch of it through the trash bin, and started over. And he did well. True story. Okay, so this is where the real conversation starts tonight. If you got line 3 right, line 4 right, and line 6 right. And that's what the conversation should look like after you leave this meeting tonight as well. Okay, this is fit brains, so we're now down into here. These guys had, Loomis Labs is a startup in Silicon Valley. They got $70 million to do what FitBrains is doing, and we put in, I don't know, maybe 3 million, something like that in total. And our differentiation was this right here. And Michael was clever enough to make that actually true and work, and that's why we won. Okay. So line 5 and 6. Who is your #1 competitor? So let's just deal with one right now. So if you're in there against this person right here, whomever that may be, or entity, what is the differentiation that you're going to put in here as a benefit in order to conquer this one and win the deal? Okay, am I clear? Very straightforward. Okay, so what's trump? What's the ace in the hole? What's your big hammer? Okay, 10 minutes. Okay. Tammy up to do lines 5 and 6. And then we'll go over the next one. Okay, can I get your attention, please? Hey, Ron. Okay. Hey, Ron. Can you hear me, Ron? Okay. The floor is yours. So who's your competitor?
So I would say Lush is my competitor, close, or comes close to what my business model is. And what really differentiates us from Lush would be, your ingredients would be natural and organically sourced. So whether it's international or domestic, you're firsthand feeling the product and you're seeing its effects right on your face right then and there. So there's not going to be anything extra, nothing fancy that's added to it. You get these ingredients, you mix them with other natural ingredients, and you're doing it on your own. So it's very hands-on, very tangible, and it's not done for you like Lush does it for you.
Okay. So line 5 is unlike Lush, right? Our product does.
It is DIY, so you do it yourself, and is organically, internationally, and domestically produced.
Okay, so I'm going to push you in terms of what we just talked about here. Is organically produced internationally, nationally, whatever, a feature or benefit?
It would be a feature.
Right, so what is the benefit?
So the benefit is you're doing it yourself, like it's hands-on. Like you're
Okay.
mixing your products at your own home. We'll give you the supplies to mix it, they're all organically sourced, but you're doing it on your own.
I see, so that's what the DIY is all about. You get 3 ingredients or something like that,
Exactly.
third, put them all together, stir well, and apply.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, so you get the satisfaction of doing that, and you're kind of in maybe a group, a family, or whatever, doing that?
Yeah, it's hands-on, so you're doing it with your kids, your family, and you feel comfortable knowing that you're making these things on your own. You know that there isn't anything additive, no preservatives or anything out in your products. You're safe and comfortable knowing that. What you're putting on yourself, your face could also go on your kids.
Cameron, we're going to do fire protection in a world-class way.
So from a competitor standpoint, from the business side, there's actually quite a few out there. One, I put a couple of, one is First Step and Fire Inspector are 2 that I can remember. As well as in-house solutions also have. Oh, sorry. So quick again. So competitors, there's quite a few out there, quite a few players. Not really any of them doing exactly what we're doing. So Fire Inspector is the name of one of them. First Step is the name of another one. But there's quite a few, as well as potentially in-house solutions. Also acts as a competitor.
Right.
So our product, our differentiator. So our key this is for our MVP, the key feature that we need in there is an intuitive, making the platform work with their process. So it has to be an intuitive experience for the inspectors, so that they're more. That's where you're going to get the efficiencies from, as well as a couple other things. And then another differentiator that's of value is the customer experience, and the customer being our client's customer. So the actual building and property managers. There's several things, but really the speed of information is a real value proposition to their customer base.
Is there a regulatory situation that you play within?
There are, I'm not sure exactly what you're getting at, but there are requirements, there are regulations around how inspections are done, how often they're done, what needs to be done. That's what you're referring
Right,
to?
so is it like WCB where you gotta do these things and annual health surveys and stuff like that, and keep the records and so on?
Yeah.
You're subject to audit?
Yes.
Mhm. Okay, so you need to find out who your competitor is, because there is one out there. Cameron, I ain't able to tell you, but you're not building a space shuttle here, so.
No.
There will be a competitor out there, you need to find one. I like the market area, if it's untapped, as you say, I'm gonna pick a statistic. 95% of the fire detection companies have manual systems right now. If that's true, you gotta do market. If it's 10%, you don't. And I'd suggest you find out actually better is 100% of them, and nobody's really punched into this thing yet or not.
It's not 100, but it's near there.
Yeah, so to me, question of competition for the audience here is do nothing a competition reality? Like I'm okay doing, you haven't justified enough benefit to me yet in 4 and 6, so get out of my office. I don't want to do anything. You haven't convinced me of anything at all. Customers not agreed. Okay, is in-house. So one of the things that I bumped into a lot in Parks and Rec was the IT department in Parks and Rec. So those guys go, oh, that's pretty trivial. I think Excel and Word, between those two, we can do what those guys are doing and just give us $100,000 rather than what they charge. So in-house and do nothing are two competitors out there always, in my opinion.
We went into in-house as well, and mind you, we expect it to fail within the next couple of years, but.
Right. You didn't get the deal today.
Well, no, because we were doing market research at the time, so we found out about it.
Right. Right. So that's to be feared, because you got to get by momentum. See, what's going on with the in-house stuff is there's not the change management issue. So Cameron's going to bump into change management. You got an organization that's used to doing business a certain way. There is a disruption that's going to occur as Cameron walks in with the iPad, because there'll be this bump of extra activity and followed by hopefully the things settling out, doing more work for less cost in the long run. That's what it's going to look like. So the CFO or whoever's making that decision is going to go, you know, this feels like a real pain in the rear end. I don't think it's worthwhile. So he hasn't demonstrated enough value right here to me. So let's just leave well enough alone and we'll see what happens. Okay, Ron?
Got a little sidetracked, so.
Okay, why is that?
That's the conversation, but, all right, so unlike traditional credit reports that don't currently capture informal lending, our product allows creditors to see your social capital when making future lending decisions.
Yeah, that's interesting. And that's because of that connection back to those credit rating agencies?
Yes.
Yeah, and then you can go to them to get the data rather than Bob or whoever's doing the lending.
Exactly.
Right.
And because then they can see that this data was captured reliably, because to report to a credit reporting agency, you actually have to be accredited and as a platform. So,
Yeah.
so we have to go through that.
Yeah.
And we can't do that if we're managing less than a certain amount of loans that
Right.
each.
Right, it's not worth their while, right?
It's not worth their while. So if you're just lending to even 150 people, and you go, hey, I want to register all my loans, they're gonna say, sorry, it's just not enough loans. You don't have a high enough volume.
Right.
You need at least 200 a year for some, and 2,000 for others.
Okay,
So,
it's an interesting opportunity.
yeah.
Good, that sounds not bad. All right. So let's just summarize where we are. So this is the neoteric one in its full glory. We've seen this before. This is also the fifth grade one in its full glory. And this is the sales funnel that we talk about. And note this line right here. So this line is the tipping point line between N and 1. And that's how you need to view lines 5, 6, and 7. So 5 is the competition, 6 is your benefit, and 7 is the extra stuff you provide as well. And amongst those 3 lines, if you do a good enough job, you're going to win. Okay. So are we pretty clear in terms of this process? So get in and get them qualified and qualify them out pretty early in terms of one that you're not going to, you don't want to do business with or shouldn't do business with because there's not a fit because you can't solve my problem. And then start solving the problem and compete and become part of a short list and then get to the 1 in terms of selected. And then here to the end is typically bureaucratic, admin, legal, whatever the case may be. Is that clear? Okay, good. All right, so I've got about 3 or 4 topic slides, and I'm going to talk about 2 other things as well over here that we identified that I think are important. So we're going to talk about the buying process, and there are three categories of individuals involved in a buying process. The first one is the user buyer. So that's the individual or individuals that say, boy, this is really a slick system. I really like it a lot. I recommend that we get it. Okay? So let's go back to this slide right here. Where do you want to talk to user buyers in terms of these three stages? Suspect stage, prospect stage, or close?
Prospect.
Pardon?
Prospect.
Okay. Who do you need to convince first? What's the first step in the sales process?
Solve somebody's problem.
Sorry?
The suspect.
Yeah, so it's the suspect stage. So what do you need to do first? You need to get a champion that says this stuff is great. Now, preferably the CEO of the organization, but certainly somebody reasonably high up in the user department to say, boy, this is a whole lot better than what we're doing right now, so I think we should go get it. And that's the user buyer, right there. Okay? They can say yes or no. And if it's a team, then you're gonna have to say, yep, you need the whole group or a large part of the group. You need somebody as a champion. In sales, there's a phrase called find the champion. We go down through when we do sales performance review. My first question to the sales guy is, who's your champion, and is he still your champion? Okay? Now, technical buyers, the second group right here. And these are folks that can say no. And these are, generally speaking, I've got four categories in there. They're the IT department on the right-hand side. Finance means we don't have any budget. The next one over is purchasing, which means we got a certain set of rules, like insurance is a big one these days when you're into a lot of selling of stuff. And that can be a real problem. And then legal, they don't like your contract. Okay? So this is pretty common territory. So what happens is the user buyers all get together and they go thumbs up. They then take it into the economic buyer, and that person sits right about here. And kind of in this range right here. You're down to the short strokes. Yes, we're still going to buy, but we need to get the economic buyer. The economic buyer then turns around and says, well, let's make sure there's no problems out there. Nobody can say no. So he goes and talks to this crowd right here. Okay, does this make sense? And then the last thing is the economic buyer goes, yep, good to go. Yes or no, right here. Generally, this person is the decision maker. They can release the funds, which is what you want, right here. Okay, so is that pretty straightforward? So your process that you want to do is first off, you go to the user buyers in the suspect stage, and they got to stay on side with you and support your cause through all the trials and tribulations of the buying process, right down to here. Okay. So that's sales 101. Okay. Smartphone positioning statements. I put this slide together probably 7 or 8 years ago, and it's still not a bad one today. So this one, I put the word focus in the upper right-hand corner. This is a pretty good representation to me, I believe, in terms of sticking to your knitting. So define what your knitting is and then sticking to it. So we have 3 competitors out there in terms of smartphones. Let's cut me some slack here. So we got BlackBerry, we got Apple, and we got Android. Okay. So you're working for BlackBerry, and this is back 3 or 4 years ago when they were still selling hardware. What are you going to look for in the way of a prospective opportunity that's got a certain type of need? What is that need that you're going to look for in an opportunity in order to sell to them? You're a sales rep. You got a mortgage payment due the end of April. You got to get the deal closed in order to get the commission check. Who are you going to talk to, and what does their need have to sound like in order for you to get pretty excited? BlackBerry.
You're going to talk to an existing BlackBerry owner who loves the tactile nature of the keypad but wants an upgrade.
Okay, that's a good shot. I would go there for sure first. And that's what BlackBerry has done because they just basically talk to me. Okay, so let's say you want to go to a new prospect or customer. You want to get a new one. What do you want them to say? So for instance, would the CIA be a good one for BlackBerry at that point in time? Yep. Because of encryption and everything else. So security is generally the phrase that gets connected with BlackBerry. So you want to find somebody, the medical industry, security industry, you get the idea in terms of having a need that you can actually nail. Okay, so let's go to Android. What should the Android buyer look like to you? What would be a good Android buyer?
Good value.
Pardon?
Good value, cheap.
Okay, yeah. And,
Somebody uses a PC,
uh-huh, okay,
because that ecosystem. that's what it is.
PC,
Yeah.
like Windows,
Yeah, like Windows, yeah.
okay. Along with the phone,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because it works
okay, and they got connected to together and so on?
Easier, yeah.
Okay, so kind of taking care of that slice of the market, if you wish. Okay, anything else? All right, I'm going to suggest ubiquitous, and ubiquitous means it's all over the place, so it's cheap and common, if you wish. Let's go to Apple. So who are you going to talk to about wanting to get your mortgage payment from a big commission check and talk about really a top-end buyer for Apple? What's the trigger point for the Apple folks?
Status.
Sorry?
Status.
Yeah. Okay, so let's just dial these up and see how we do. So is status this?
Yeah.
Okay, so kind of apply. So again, my reason for putting the slide together was focus, focus, focus. You know what your target market is, you know what their needs are, and you're just being really, really diligent about zoning in on that. Okay, next slide. Connecting features and value. This is for you. Okay, so on the right-hand side, so this slide, just to set it up. What I'm trying to do here is you have one reality when you're a startup, and that is called negative cash flow. You do not have much money. So you need to start getting some sales in the door to solve that problem. And what are you going to do in the way of developing an MVP and getting it sold? Well, the first question you need to ask yourself is, what's the MVP need to look like in order to actually get going forward? So on the right-hand side, you've defined your target market, you've defined your target pain, you've defined your buyer pain, and you understand what your value proposition is for the buyer. All of this is possibly hypothetical at this time because you don't know because you haven't been in the market. So, but you need to build a product. It's call it the chicken and egg situation. So you're out there, you got to build something to get it out there. So what are you going to do? You got a bunch of features that you got to put in the product, and you got to build these features to make darn sure that they solve this pain over here. And you don't want any more features. You want enough of them, sufficient, but you don't want any more features in order to get the value out of it that you need in your MVP. Because the big equation is this one right here. You need to get enough money and therefore features, enough investment into features right here in order to get the deal closed. Now you asked me, is there a formula? No. However, what it is I would probably build what I think is enough based on some tight customer advice. And by the way, that was a rule I always had in the company. Every single startup I did had a customer design partner on the other side. They may not have been perfect, but they were representative and they would agree to become a reference right after they went live. And you then get this feature set that you need from them. You need roughly, in the commercial world like B2B, you need about 25, 30 customers in order to make sure that you've got enough sample size in order to represent a market. Okay, so 30 parks and rec departments, for instance, in my case, in that particular product. Then I would get the feature set that I needed and understood what the value proposition is, and I got the close rate that I wanted. Now my close rate over here was 75 to 85%. Like we got 7 to 8 out of 10 customers that we chased. Done, coming our way. Okay, now does this answer your question? There is no formula, but the tweak is enough in order to get this starting to work. That's the model that you need to start working on. That make sense?
That makes sense.
Okay. Any question? Go.
The switching cost is also part of the price for the customer.
Sorry, I can't hear that. My hearing is not as good as it used to be. I'm sorry.
Just when we put the price for the buyer, so the cost of switching will be also.
Included,
Yeah,
yes,
it
yes.
needs to be
Yes.
included, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So, and this is where Cameron's going to have to be careful in his value prop, because there's going to be a change management issue in terms of putting your stuff in. So you remember where we had benefits minus costs? I had mostly price. You're going to need a change management investment if they're in there as well. So there's going to be some extra staffing costs and so on.
As well as hardware.
Yeah, whatever it's going to take.
and some
Yeah, you need to load it all in.
costs.
And then you're gonna drive those benefits, Cameron, just as high as you possibly can to cover all that stuff. Okay? All right, next one. Right, so we done with this, we're good? Okay, this is my summary slide, I'm gonna let you read this. You are doing really, really well. I put this slide together in terms of why the position statement's important. And these were the groups that I thought would be background groups in terms of where you would apply it to. I think this one is the biggest one right here, where going through this process on paper, if you wish, allows you to make some really good decisions and not spend a whole lot of money. It may take a longer period of time than you'd like, but I think you're going to get to certainty, and this has been my experience, a whole lot quicker. And therefore, business is going to be a whole lot more successful faster if you go through this process. So I leave you with Steve Blank's comment right now, which is, now that you've got version 1 of your position statement done, get out of the building and go talk to potential customers. And ask them, is this the benefit that you think? Is this a big differentiator that's important to you? Give me some feedback. And I'll go buy some beers or whatever and just get out there into the community. Okay? Now, I added 2 more slides from last year's presentation, and this is the first one. So there are 3 choices of strategy, and this is a pretty well-known business reality, and they are the following. Product innovation, customer intimacy, which means you solve customer needs exactly as they want it to be, and the notion is glove. And the third one is low price. Well, this is about as dumb as you can get to be low price. You never should do this one at all. You're going to get crushed because somebody's going to come in and go lower than you. They got a little bit bigger bank account than you. They'll just wait you out, and pretty soon you're fodder. Okay, so X on this one. This one here is what happens typically is product innovation. There's something really creative that you've done, but it gradually morphs into the customer intimacy thing because it gets so perfect in terms of the solution in your target market. That's typically what happens to products that I've experienced anyway, with 2 or 3 exceptions, which we'll get to right here. So there's another book you should read called The Magic Box Paradigm by a guy named Ezra Roizen. And it's fairly new, probably the last 2 years. And it's mostly focused on the liquidity event process. And liquidity event means you've grown your company and you want to sell it. And what's a buyer looking for in the way of characteristics, if you wish, that are attractive or not? So let's go down, let's deal with the x-axis. So consolidation, scarcity, and scale. Generally speaking, big buyers want to enhance their market position, sorry. And metamorphosis or metamorphic means we put 2 things together and the whole thing becomes great in terms of the result. And the most recent example that I could give you in this day and age, or right now, is Amazon buying Whole Foods. So what do you think is going to happen to the retail market, retail food market? I fear for the retail food guy because I think they're going to get trampled. So Amazon is going to take their e-commerce technology. They're going to now have physical presence where they want it throughout North America and possibly the world, and they're going to make a huge difference. So this thing is gone from just a consolidation strategy between 2 companies to a huge scaling strategy over here in the food market. And you can bet they ain't going to stop. So I could see Whole Foods selling refrigerators and stuff like that at some point in time as well, directly. So it's pretty wicked in terms of what's going on It's doubtful that you will ever play in this line at all unless you manage to really grow very, very quickly. These two are the ones where you're gonna play. So most of what you guys are working on are what's gonna be called incremental, which is you're going to be a plug-in, add-on, whatever, to possibly a bigger system from another vendor. So I would say most of my 24 investments fall into that category. Now, you get reasonably well paid depending on the synergy and the value you bring. So when you sell your business, you sell three things. One is product, that's the obvious one. Second is customer base. So do you have a customer set that can be leveraged by the buyer? And the third, interesting enough, is people. And people are becoming a scarce resource these days. So corporations actually, when they sell, value an engineer, a good one, especially AI these days, at hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? So businesses are getting sold just to buy the horsepower right now. So I think most of you are going to end up in this category right here, which is attractive, it's okay. But the big hammer is this one right here, where you've got transformational and scarcity. I'll give you an example. I'm involved with this outfit over in Victoria that I mentioned called Resin Technologies, and they're making specialty semiconductor material. So what happens is they make sensors. Let's call my hand a sensor. And in comes, one side comes radiation, and out the other side comes an electrical signal. So these things are radiation sensitive. It's made from three materials, cadmium, zinc, and tellurium, and kind of stir well and then make a sensor. Okay. So we're revolutionizing the medical CT market. In about 2021, you're going to see a new set of CT machines out that are going to be, pick a number, 15, 20% better than what we have right now. And better in the way of imaging, better in the way of diagnosis, capability for the radiologist and other doctors that are going to look at the x-rays, and it's going to be remarkable. What's happened is there's been a legacy system for about 30, 40 years out there called oscillators, and we're replacing it with our new product. There is no question we're going to transform that marketplace. Now, let's go to scarcity. We are one of 4 companies in the world. There's this little bitty bitty place over Victoria, 140 employees, that is doing this work. 2 of those companies out of the 4 are in-house. One's owned by GE, the other's owned by Siemens. And the 4th one is a market player that doesn't seem to be competing with us at all. So basically, we're a buyer of, we are a source of one. So think about it. We are transformational. We have a board member that's defined for us what our purchasing value is to a medical CT manufacturer, and it's big, and we're the only game in town, right here. So I think if we can make sure it works and we can actually produce it repetitively, we got a great opportunity. I don't see too many of those out of my portfolio. There's probably 2 or 3 in there right now, but they are out there. I would encourage you to try and end up in this bucket right here. Okay, that's the sweet spot. Yes, sir.
One of your competitors you said is Siemens, for instance. So that's a gigantic company. What if they just try to copy you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Think of it this way. We are at the molecular level, atomic level, actually, in terms of these crystals, and we spent probably $65 billion so far getting the molecules or atoms to behave exactly like we want to behave on a repetitive basis, steady trial and error. We're not particularly concerned about them catching us. It's just a long, arduous, challenging, difficult process that you got to go through. They could not take, if we handed them our crystal and they did a molecular analysis of it, they could not reverse engineer it. They could reverse engineer it, but they wouldn't know how to make it. So we don't even bother patenting it, with some exceptions, because it's just, it's like Aunt Jemima making a cake mix. She did it so well, and it was hard to repeat. I'm being a little facetious on that one, certainly comparing it to what we're doing over there. But it's not, technically, the reverse engineering won't work. Does that answer your question?
What do you suggest in other cases where the bigger companies are able to?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Microsoft in the good old days of Bill Gates, when he was trying to build a company, he was wicked, right, in doing what you described. which was he would love this stuff over here. This is where he primarily played. Because what he was looking for was features, therefore benefits to add to his product. And he let small companies basically trial balloon all this stuff. And then you put yourself up for sale. They would walk in the door, they would not sign an NDA. They would not sign a non-disclosure agreement. So you're catch-22. You're attached to Windows. Who else are you going to sell to? So, okay, Bill, I'll let you take a look. And pretty soon, there was a problem. Okay? So Angie's doing her thing. Let me just see. I think I'm on the slides, Angie. Yes, I am. So hopefully this has been of value to you. I am delighted. I actually said to Angie an hour or so ago that this is the best group that I've talked to so far. So it's been a delight and a pleasure to be here tonight. And thank you very much.